Hello everyone, welcome to DotNetMirror channel. In one of our last video, we talked about CRUD API using SQL and ADO.NET. I will provide the link in the description. In that video, we talked about how to test the endpoints from the HTTP file, but we did not have any dedicated interface. Today we are going to talk about how to take that to next level by mastering API documentation using OpenAPI and Swagger in ASP.NET Core. In the agenda, I'm going to cover first, we will define what is an OpenAPI and Swagger. We will look at the difference. Then I will show you exactly how to enable Swagger on an existing ASP.NET Web API application. Finally, we will jump into a live demo to see it all in action. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit subscribe button and join our community .NET Mirror. Let's start with the foundation OpenAPI. Think of OpenAPI as the blueprint of your API. It's a standard language agnostic format, usually JSON or YAML, that describes exactly what your API does. Whether you use a C Sharp, Java, or Python, the documentation remains the same. Interestingly, it started as Swagger spec before being donated to the Linux Foundation in 2015, and then it is renamed as OpenAPI. If you look at the right side, that talks about what is a OpenAPI spec. In each of SDLC cycle, in the requirement phase, what should my API do? In the design phase, what does the API does? And during the configuration phase, what API does in the infrastructure? And also it talks about development, deploy, test, and publish, right? So it talks about for each of your SDLC lifecycle, what the OpenAPI spec can useful for you. So you can read more from openapi.org documentation. If the OpenAPI is a blueprint, Swagger is the construction crew for you. It is actual tooling and implementation. The Swagger ecosystem consists of three distinct tools. Swagger UI, it's an interactive web page we use to browse and test our API endpoints. Swagger Editor, where we can design and edit our spec. Swagger Code Gen, it's a powerful tool that generates client SDK and server stubs automatically from your API spec. And if you look at this particular image, which has API endpoints, few post, get, updates as well as delete. So if you look at here for your particular API, it has all endpoints with good UI with a Swagger. Let's understand how to enable Swagger. Make sure you install any good package. Either you can do via command or from the UI. Add the package swashbuckle.ASP.NET and go to program.cs, add Swagger Gen. This is where we can also get a creative with metadata by using Swagger doc options. We can add a custom title, version, description, which can be passed to add Swagger Gen to make our documentation professional and clear. Once that is done, we will enable middleware so the UI actually loads in the browser. We add app.useSwagger to generate the JSON file and app.useSwagger UI to serve that beautiful interactive page as well. Let's get into the demo. Previously in my video, I have used this CRUD ASP.NET Core Web API. In a similar way, I just cloned it and created one more repo, which is exactly a copy, which is Swagger CRUD Web API. I will provide the link in the description. I've already connected to this particular repo. Now let's run this application. To understand right what this application does, to understand about this API, it has CRUD operations to certifications, where it has add, update, delete of certifications. Now I will show you one sample example how to test this. Let's go to the .html file. It has these many endpoints. Now I will make a get call. Yeah, now you can see list of certifications are coming. Basically it has all CRUD operations, which is talking to my local SQL Express database, and it is trying to fetch the data. Now to test all these endpoints, you have to go and in .http file, you have to keep adding the endpoints and you have to keep testing it. To make this easy, Swagger enables you easily. So let's Now let's try to add Swagger to this application. So first let's add the package. Yeah, you can search for Swashbuckle ASP core. You can install the stable version. Yeah, the package is added. Go to the program.cs. As a part of step 2, we will register our service. And in the middleware, let's add use Swagger plus Swagger UI. Let's build the application. Yeah, the build is succeeded. Now let's run the application. Say Swagger. Now if you look at the Swagger, now all your endpoints are available over here. In this way, Swagger will enable you to look at all your endpoints in a interactive way. If you look at here, this is our title and there is a Swagger definition. You can look at it. So this is your API spec basically. From this spec only, it basically shows all your endpoints, and this is a get endpoint. Let's go and try it out. Now if I execute the endpoint, I'm able to get the data as a response body. In this way, Swagger is easy to test all your API endpoints. Now what we will do is we will extend few more bits. So let's stop this. So now I'm going to extend few options to this add Swagger gen. So let me get those. Now I'm trying to replace with the options. In this, I'm trying to pass the title, what is the version of my API, the description, the terms of service, and the contact information. All these options you can inject to this add Swagger gen. Let's build the application. Let's run it. Now if we go and refresh the UI, and we have added terms of service and the website and the licensing information as well. Now on top of this, let's extend, let's say within this particular endpoint, let's add some description and all that, and also we will try to add few more response codes. So let's go to the application. Let's go to the endpoint. So let's add an XML documentation. Now we have added an XML comment. It says an endpoint which is returning list of certifications. Let's go and do for others as well. Now we have added XML comments. To enable these comments to work, go to your solution. Yeah, from the build option, make sure you enable documentation file. So this will generate a file containing your API documentation. It is asking for a path. I will not change anything. It will take default. Let's save this. And let's go to the program.cs. Let's try to inject the XML comments to the options of add Swagger gen. Now we are trying to take the XML file, the comments, and we are trying to include as an XML comments. Now if you run this code now, if you see here, our endpoints doesn't have any description. Let's refresh. Now if you see here, our XML comments are injected like a description to our endpoints. In this way, you can go add XML comments, inject to the Swagger. Now let me show you two more options, which is like remarks, where you can go and put a sample request, and also let me show you different response codes. Now if you look at the post method, it has only 200 status code. Now what I will try to show you is how can we inject sample request body over here, as well as I will try to show you also I will try to show you a different response codes how we can add. So let's go to the code. So here let me add, I'm adding a remarks section as well as different response codes. Let's run the application. Let's refresh. Now if you go to the post endpoint, now there is a sample request, you can use this. And also if you go to the codes, now we have added 201 as well as 400 from our XML documentation. In this way you can inject the description, sample request, as well as the response codes to your code. Now one last thing I want to show is in this, how can we make our schemas as required field. If you look at here, let's say our certification code, they're all optional. If you want to make this as mandatory, what you can go is you can go to your model and just mark this as required. And maybe let's mark even description as required. Let's run it. Now if you refresh, this becomes like mandatory now, which means that we must pass these values via request body. In this way you can enable Swagger and also keep extending your endpoints with titles, descriptions, metadata, as well as request and response bodies, and all that you can do with the Swagger, which makes your APIs very well structured for the ones who are consuming your APIs.